Due to the graphic nature of this program, viewer discretion is advised.
Good morning, everyone. How is everyone doing this morning? Hello there, everybody. We have got a great panel. Man, I've got a great panel for everybody here today. How is everyone doing this morning? Diga Outlaw, Mexican Iron Man, Chris Persia, the Purple Lady. Good morning. Speaking for the Dead. Good morning, Just Another Nerd. Hail. Mark the Infinitely Tired. RR. What's his face, Mick? Whatever. How is everyone doing this morning? 47 Yorktown, welcome and good morning. Lady Q, sit room. Man, so many people here today. Jedi Bill 797. Guys, thank you so much for being here. Adiga Outlaw, hell. Guys, man, everybody is here this morning. It is cranking already. The chat is cranking. I would like to welcome my panel here this morning. I've got Captain Shrek, Dave Bob, Bird of Prey 5, Rambling Canuck, and Samantha Joe. How is everybody doing this morning?
Kapla.
Kablah.
Good morning, everybody.
Good morning.
Hello.
Good morning.
Good morning, guys. So we are here. This is the last hoorah, guys. This is the last time I'm going to talk about Picard.
Amen.
Oh, and Dave Bob asked me yesterday if he could open things up with like a mini rant real quick, and I would like to honor that. Dave Bob, the floor is yours, sir.
Well, y'all probably know I'm not one to go flying off the handle. I do like my Trek, but all I have to say about this season of Star Trek Picard, it was a total disrespect, a season of disrespect. Everybody disrespects Picard, including Patrick Stewart, who made the iconic character. From the writers to the showrunners, Michael Chabon, Kurtzman, Kiva Goldsman, all of them. There's just no respect in there. And all of the characters. I don't think there was maybe one character, which is Hugh, that didn't just totally disrespect Picard at some time during this series. It's, amazing to me how you can write something that bad. But when you have a writer's room that has absolutely no knowledge of Trek, no history of writing anything in science fiction, that's what you get. You get crap like what we got in this season. I don't know how they could even do that. I mean, Roddenberry's vision for Trek was hopeful, and this was nothing but just dark and dystopian. All they did was just use political pandering, to whatever they wanted to do. Now, I know, Star Trek has always had some politics in it, and, gentle persuasions and, trying to, get points across with their thing, but not as heavy-handed as all this has been. I mean, this is a show I was watching as a kid in 1966, where I first saw the Enterprise, NCC 1701, gliding across the screen. And they have totally destroyed that. And I don't really know how, you can live with yourself doing that. Picard is literally dead. They don't even have anything. He's a robot now. So technically, he's not even a person. He's gone. He's dead. What are they going to call it next year? Star Trek RoboCard? I don't know. But there it is. I am totally disgusted with this series. It literally has no resemblance to Star Trek in any way, shape, or form.
Thank you, brother. Thank you. And I didn't say this earlier. I know, because I was scrambling because we had a person missing this morning, and that's fine. Shit happens. I totally get that. But say whatever you want about the show. All of y'all, say whatever you want about the show. But please remember to be respectful of anybody here. That's all I ask. You can say whatever you want. You can F-bomb the whole show. You can say whatever you want to. You can say it's the greatest show in the world. It's fine. But please be respectful of other people's opinions. So if someone says, I really like this, don't be like, are you fucking out of your damn mind, JL?
No, if somebody likes this, that's fine. I really came into it wanting to like it. I wanted so much to like this show.
As did I.
Same.
So let's start things out and we'll start with like just the premiere. And we'll go around. We'll start with Captain Trek and work our way around to Bird. So Captain Trek, what did you think about the premiere of the show?
I actually liked the premiere of the show. I liked really the first 3 episodes. It wasn't until after that I really started questioning things. Those actually felt somewhat like Trek, even though it was, as Bird of Prey called it in his review videos, Earth Trek. It's pretty bad when a show taking place on Earth with the name Star Trek feels more Trek-like on Earth. Somebody's dog barked.
Yeah, that was mine. Sorry.
Is that it?
That's it.
Okay, Dave Bob.
Well, it started out kind of lukewarm for me. The first episode was interesting, but after I saw what was going on and the superpowered girl and everything, I kind of that kind of turned me off there.
Okay, Smith Joe.
Yes, sir. I was looking up a word. In the very beginning, the nostalgia was nice to see, and that's those member berries, that everybody talks about, and that was really nice. And I gotta say, the cinematography going over the vineyard, also beautiful. I love places like that, but at the same time, I felt something was off. It's like, this is not going to be the Captain Picard I grew up watching, even as an admiral or an ambassador, however he may have chosen, whatever path he may have chosen through the Federation, post-captain or post-starship. I just felt like it was just going to go off the rails. And then we've got, some member of the media, taking Picard's words and twisting them. I'm like, oh, here we go. Okay. So we're going to put current events into Star Trek and not in a positive light. There's no way this is going to turn out to be anything positive. It's going to go negative. So that was disappointing, but I held on.
Okay. Rambling Canuck.
Okay, so for me, the opener of Picard was really good. I thought they started the show strong. I also think that they ended the show strong with some weak parts in the middle. But for the most part, if we're just talking about the opener, I thought the opener was done well. I thought it came out strong. And that's all I got to say about the opener.
Okay. Bird.
I also really enjoyed the opening episode. In fact, honestly, the first 4 episodes I thought were really good. I was surprised a little bit at episode 4, but episode 1, 2, and 3, I attributed it to being Patrick Stewart having so much airtime in those episodes. We hadn't really gotten the rest of the crew yet. And obviously Patrick Stewart's an amazing actor. And I mean, almost anything you put him in, I think he'll do a good job. But I was really pleasantly surprised those first few episodes. Like, wow, this is not Discovery. This is something I want to watch. I want to see what happens next week. Now, I knew from the beginning, get-going, because they told us ahead of time, this is not going to be the Star Trek you remember. This is not going to be the show you remember. I don't like that. I think it could have been a lot better. I certainly would have preferred they used the 90s track formula, or we still had Picard as the hero instead of the person looking for redemption. And I don't even think he found it, even though they think he did. But I would have preferred he still be the captain we remember. But what we got was entertaining. It was interesting. I mean, Mama Prey and it was probably the first time in months.
You muted, brother.
Sorry.
It's okay.
It was for Mama Prey and I. It was probably the first time in months we watched a whole straight episode without a single pause, bathroom break. We didn't take a phone call, anything. Just watched it straight through and like, wow, we want more. It wasn't until mid-season that things started falling apart for me.
Okay. For me, I smiled the first 5 minutes of the show. It's the first time Trek made me smile in years. Seeing the Enterprise D come in, some people were like, "Oh, it was too shiny. It was too this." That's all nitpicky shit to me. I'm seeing Data and Picard together, and him not wanting the game to end. The only thing that bothered me is Picard, and I'm going to go back, of course, to the first movie they did. Picard got some advice in the very first movie they did in Generations, and it was don't let them move you, don't let them promote you, don't let them do anything that gets you out of that chair. And I understand we had seen Picard as an admiral in the TNG series. We had seen him in the future. We had seen holographic stuff. We'd seen fakes. We'd seen all this stuff where in the future he could be this admiral. I thought Kirk's advice to Picard was one of the best things of that movie. Don't let them do anything that gets you out of that captain's chair. And when it ended in Nemesis, he was still the captain of the Enterprise. And I don't know. To me, it kind of broke with that whole aspect of don't let them do anything that gets you out of that chair. Don't let them promote you to an admiral. Be a captain as long as you can be a captain. And when they finally force retirement on you, there's nothing you can do about that. But stay in that chair as long as you can. Don't let them get you out of it. And I thought at the end of Nemesis that he should have kept doing that and not ever taken a promotion to admiral.
Do you think they could legit have a 95-year-old captain, though?
I don't think they'd be able to pull that off.
Pretty good. He did stay a captain through Nemesis. How much older could he have gone?
Then retire. Don't let him make you an admiral. Retire from Starfleet. Dude, he had all those opportunities. I'd heard a possible show idea originally was him being like an Indiana Jones type character, him looking for artifacts and doing what he loved.
Yeah, that was an episode too, and that was very, very good and very well done. They could have done that with him. They could have also promoted him to admiral, but made him a teacher or an instructor at Starfleet Academy.
I would have loved to see Picard as an archaeologist.
Me too.
I think that was what they were originally intending to do.
Yeah. The only thing I would add to that is the only trouble with that is getting Stewart to do it.
Yeah, I imagine.
Yeah, I agree.
I imagine. Okay, so as we moved on, my enthusiasm slid. Guys, I will admit it. I've talked to multiple people about it. They said, "Man, when you and Dave Bob started to watch these episodes, your enthusiasm went downhill. It's like you guys were like, oh man, this and that, analyze this, and we're looking at this, and we're talking about this." And it got to the point where it was like, "Did you watch it? Yeah. Did you watch it? Yeah. What did you think? Oh, well, I thought about this." How did you guys feel? Starting with Captain Trek going down again. How did you guys feel as the show went on? Were you still excited to see each episode, or did your enthusiasm wane?
Well, I was actually excited to see each episode. I just became more and more disappointed as the show went on. As I called it, the first episodes were the good. Then you had the bad and the ugly and something else for the last two episodes. But it just kept going worse and worse. And even though there were good points in all the episodes, well, most of the episodes, it just lost me on it as I kept watching. It's just like this, and I finally gave up. And it's like, okay, this isn't a bad un-Star Trek science fiction thing. It's just not Star Trek.
Okay, Dave Bob.
Well, the first couple of the first couple of episodes I enjoyed to a degree, but as it went on, it was like it was so slowly paced there for the first 4 or 5 episodes, and then after that, it just was almost like just went hyper. They just were throwing so much stuff at you that you couldn't really, keep up with it. It was like, after you finished watching it, you're just sitting there thinking, what did I just see? There were so many plot holes, so many, instances where there was no explanation of why things happened or anything. And even, later when they were coming back trying to, show you what happened during that, it still didn't make a whole lot of sense. So that's my biggest problem with it, is just the way it was written and the way they jumped around, scene cut every 2 seconds. That's not, the way I like to watch a television program. Maybe it's just me. Maybe I'm old school, but that type of cinematography where they're jumping around like they did, cutting scenes, one scene, 30 seconds back to the other one. That's not good storytelling.
Okay, Smith, Joe.
Yes, sir. Well, the whole series, and it was frustrating to watch. I wanted it to get better. After that first episode, I'm like, okay, there may be hope here. It's not a complete sham. And then they brought in this JL stuff, and I'm like, okay, we've got the disheartened Starfleet, whatever the heck she was. And now she's turned to drugs and alcohol to, hide her feelings. I'm like, that's not exactly what I would call a positive message from Star Trek. You're automatically saying that drugs and alcohol are the way to wallow in your guilt. Okay. I'm not exactly comfortable with that message. That was not ever Star Trek's message to begin with. It was a message of hope and healing and togetherness and brotherhood, and I didn't get that feeling at all.
Okay, that's a good point. Rambling Canuck.
Okay, so I enjoyed most episodes throughout, and for me, it did get a little 6 and 7 got a little slow, and it's like, okay, you're getting close to near the end here, especially in 8. You're getting close to the end. We got to start ramping this up now. However, overall, I think I enjoyed every episode that they gave us. There was some weak points within the story. I also think, just kind of getting ahead of us, but I also think that the way that Discovery was done had a lot to do with the way that Picard was done, in the sense that you had a character in Discovery, which is why I only made it through one season, that could do everything, started out perfect and ended perfect. And I think that the backlash from that had a lot to do with Picard, and why Picard's entire crew was basically cast at their weakest points in the beginning to try to give over as the seasons progress, they actually earned their moment in the sun, as opposed to what was done in Discovery, where the one character was basically given it at the beginning and never lost it. So to me, I liked that aspect of it as well. So overall, I really enjoyed the season. I mean, there were some parts where it dragged, but it was overall good for me.
That is a good, different way to look at it. That's awesome. Bird of Prey 5.
Well, like I said, the early episodes I rated pretty high. The middle episodes, not as much, and the last episodes, not good at all. But every single episode I looked forward to. Every single episode, at the end, I wanted to see more. I wanted to see what was going to happen. I was hoping good things would happen. It didn't happen towards the end for me, but every single episode I looked forward to. Every week I was like, okay, I want to see next week. And that is not something that I could say about Discovery at all. I mean, after the first episode of Discovery, a two-parter, I was like, I almost don't care if next week ever happens or not. And then, a few episodes in, I'm like, you know what? I almost prefer they just cancel the show and don't air it anymore. With Picard, I wanted to see every episode, even if I ended up not liking it. And I think I also, some episodes, I just had to give it 2 different ratings because it was a good sci-fi show, even if it just, again, it wasn't Star Trek to me for so much of it. So as a sci-fi show, I gave it fairly good ratings, even if I gave the Star Trek portion of it, aspect of it, a lower rating. That's really, I think it really suffered from the fact that Shaban left. I don't know if Shaban was helping it or hurting it, but there were so many small moments where it looked like they were about to cross over into greatness, and every time they fell flat. They fell flat to me, and they kept touting this as, Star Trek for non-Star Trek fans. But the truth is, if you were a longtime Star Trek fan, there was a lot in there for you to see him. If you weren't a longtime Star Trek fan, I think you probably missed half the references in the show. So I don't think they even knew what they were making. I think they were trying to make a show that wasn't for Star Trek fans, but then they added in a whole bunch of stuff that was only for Star Trek fans. But then, of course, they lost all the Star Trek fans, at least in my opinion, with the storyline. So I think it was just a mess.
Well, do you think they were going from the approach of kind of the Alex Kurtzman, J.J. Abrams to try to rewrite our history, so to speak?
I think that could have been it at the start. And then my theory is they brought Michael Chabon in, and because he didn't start. Picard started before Chabon was there.
Right.
And then he came in, and then it ended in the initial it ended. He had left before it had ended. So they had time to go in and make changes. So I think what we saw was basically a battle between Kurtzman and Chabon, and like half, the middle half, so to say, is under Chabon's direction.
Right.
In the beginning and end were Kurtzman's.
And you can see it.
And I mean, there were reports, that there were a lot of more, like, just the fact of having more references to old Starfleet ships, things that would tie in with the Next Generation more than Discovery. Those were all reportedly removed once Chabon left to save money or whatever. I could believe it because it looked like we were going to get one show and we got another.
Mm-hmm. Agreed.
That said, I'm still looking forward to season 2. I literally have no idea what they're going to do for season 2, if there's a season 2. But they could do anything. And what annoys me the most is, like, now that I go back and I rewatch episode 1 or 2 or 3, there are so many plot points that they just completely ignored, that you're like, oh, this is going to pay off later. This is going to pay off later. And they never come back to it. Like those badges that the Romulans were giving people, like, oh, if that badge turns green, run. Like, oh, that's going to happen. That's going to happen. Never happened. Elnor wants to see a cat, even though there was a cat. And Elnor doesn't get to see the goddamn cat.
I forgot about the cat, yeah.
That annoyed me. And then, like, I was rewatching episode 9, and Sutra says that the AI is going to come through once we turn on the beacon. The AI is going to come almost instantaneously. And then the next episode, they turn on the beacon, And it's taking forever for the AI to come. It's the slowest thing in the universe.
Yeah.
The
I thought that
snails
was weird
fall
too.
faster than this AI. So
Not
they
only
cut out her saying it's going to be near instantaneous from the preview from the following week, like last time on Picard. They cut her right before she says instantaneous. But it's like they already wrote, there was a lot of editing that went on. They wrote a completely different ending, I think, and they changed it.
Yeah.
So okay, just to move on and get back on track here.
Oh, sorry.
No, it's fine. It's fine. It's absolutely perfect. This is the whole point of this. But I wanted to get to this, and I invited someone here this morning who didn't show up. That's fine. This was actually inspired. This part was inspired by him. In this show, you've got some things that are not like the other shows, and one or two of those things is, number one, the language that's used in the show. Number two is the sex. Yeah, yes, there has been sex in Star Trek, and yes, they've done some provocative things. But one of the things I heard towards the beginning of this show is Data's daughters are sluts. They just give it out the first time they meet a guy. Within the first 24 hours, they're giving it up, and that technically is correct. As far as the language goes, the F-bombs, the shut the F's ups, the effing hubris, the language, the drug references, the sex, the incestual relationship between the Narek and his sister. What did you guys think of that?
No.
I loved it every bit. Oh no, wait. I mean, it was terrible. That's what killed it. That's what it says. It's not Star Trek.
Mm-mm.
None of this is Star Trek.
Mm-mm. Not at all. I mean, that's not. Yeah, you had gratuitous kissing scenes and whatnot here and there throughout the series. Hello, that was the MO for Captain Kirk to begin with. But F-bombs don't belong in Star Trek. I'm sorry. Maybe a Data looking at the screen every now and then and going, shit, that's okay. But that's also a film. It was never part of the show. Like, cursing was almost like eradicated, after the Third World War. So,
to be honest, the sex didn't matter too much to me. I mean, they were young people. If you can have sex in the future without incident of worry and whatnot, I suppose people would be more open and liberal about it. That wasn't the biggest problem. It was more the language for me, and just the culture that life doesn't have meaning. I mean, we saw so many people die without a funeral, without so much as shedding a tear.
Oh yeah, the bodies dropped. They pretty much had the bodies hit the floor throughout the entire season.
Every episode, we had at least one murder, and some hundreds.
that's true. Didn't we have like a basic genocide?
I would call it, yeah.
Yeah. So
the Borg cube, they shot them all out into space. There were thousands upon thousands of them that died.
Yeah, that made me sick. Oof.
Captain Trek?
No, that's the thing. The language definitely was not for me. I would not let I have my great nephews that are 4. Actually, 2 of them are 4 now, and 7. And I let them watch classic Trek with me. There's no way I would let them watch Picard, ever.
Amen.
Canuck?
Same with my grandson. I mean, he likes to watch the classic stuff with me, but I wouldn't even have him in the same room with Picard or STD.
Canuck?
For the language, I didn't like the only part I had for the issue with the language was when when the CDC used it. That was the only time I had an issue with it. I don't mind Rios using it. I don't mind side characters using it. Just on the basic that we're not on a Starfleet ship. We're not in Starfleet right now. The only issue I had was the CDC using it. That should have been changed and not allowed, because a person in uniform should never resort to that language. So that's where it drew me out on that aspect. The body count I'm not too worried about, because let's face it, we get, yes, they weren't all on screen, but I mean, how many ships have we watched blow up? How many, it's a body count, but the only difference is in Picard, it's actually on screen, and you don't get to just watch a ship blow up and then 800 people are dead in that instance. However, it's not a body count because not every individual death is on the screen. The other thing that I realize is that whether they get them or not, a lot of these newer shows, including are targeted at 18 to 25. So they're putting that in to bring in that audience, so I can understand where they're going with it, and I understand why it's there.
Okay. All right. Good point. I was not okay with the Admiral. Okay. Here's the deal. Picard had this discussion at the end of season 1 with these humans from our time. And he told them about how they'd moved past this and moved past that, and we now work for the betterment of mankind, and we all, we're there for each other, yada, yada, yada. That is the core principles of the Federation. I do not believe in the show they followed the core principles of the Federation. Everybody's out for themselves. People are murdering people. People are covering up the murder of people. Rios and his captain, before he left Starfleet, covered up the murder of the 2 synthetics. One of them apparently looked just like Soji and her sister, and they murdered them. The captain took his own life, suicide. He committed suicide because he couldn't live with himself because of this. You've got people having secrets. You've got admirals F-bombing. You've got brothers and sisters in relationships. You've got them. To kind of add to what Berta Prey said earlier, this did not feel like Star Trek. This did not feel like Star Trek. This felt like some other sci-fi show. And if they'd done it to some other sci-fi show, I probably wouldn't have had a problem with it. But it's Star Trek. And Siobhan released some statement where, the brightest light comes from the shadow, or some stupid shit like that he pulled out of his ass. And I completely disagree with that. But that's just my opinion. So to get back to it, I personally don't think that the language on the ship, when they're on the ship, on Rios's ship, that's one thing. And I agree with Canuck. Having the Admiral, the CDC, basically say the epping hubris and shut the F up, and all of that was just completely out of place. I understand you want to make a strong woman character. That is not the way to go about it. Okay? The reason why we like strong female characters is because we respect them. But that has to be earned. Just like a male character has to earn it. You can't throw an F-bomb out and expect us to like that person just because they threw an F-bomb out. Or, we're going to make her so tough, she's going to be flinging F-bombs left and right. That doesn't impress us. That doesn't impress me. As a fan,
at least not on the TV screen, right? Because
Right.
I have to tell you, as a woman, in order to get some men's attention, if I don't drop an F-bomb into a conversation, then I'm just, another pretty face. I don't have substance in some cases. In other cases, no, I don't have to drop an F-bomb, and I can get my point across like I am with you fellas today without having to do that and still sound intelligent and be more than just a pretty face. That was completely uncalled for. I don't know a commanding officer, male or female, who would do that in a public situation. Now, privately, I've known a couple of captains who can curse like crazy. You know, like sailors. Ha!
Oh
They
yeah.
were.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, I don't think anything like that is important for this, strong female character to get across. No other admiral that we've ever seen on screen, female, has had to do that. She would pop up on screen and as an admiral is automatically respected. She doesn't have to make these captains or anybody in her lower grade. She doesn't have to curse at them to get their attention. They
That's
already
right.
have it because of her rank. So 2 cents from a girl, gang. Boof.
Okay, so let's get on to. I really want to talk about the Borg. One of the things that I was extremely excited about was when I saw Hugh, and I found out that they were bringing Hugh back, and I really wanted a scene. And I said this to Dave Bob. I said, as soon as I saw him, I was like, if they do not have Picard and Hugh on screen at the same time, I'm going to burn this bitch to the ground, because I had a feeling. I had this really weird feeling they're going to kill Hugh off. And spoilers, everybody, in case you haven't watched it. I don't know why you'd be watching this if you haven't watched any of it, but and you want to, but I had a feeling they were going to kill Hugh off before the end of the season. And I said, if they do not have Hugh and Picard on screen at the same time. And somebody said, well, he was friends with Geordi. He wasn't friends with Picard. And I've got to tell you this. In the TNG episode with Hugh, Picard goes complete Locutus on Hugh. Picard goes back into Locutus. I am Locutus of Borg. You will help me assimilate this ship. And he freaks Hugh out, and Hugh's tripping out. But I don't want to do it. I don't want to. Or we do not want to hurt Geordi. We do not want to do this. And finally he says, he talks about himself like a person. And that was a really big thing for me, because I know that must have been terrible for Picard, the character. I don't know what Patrick Stewart was thinking, but that must have been terrible for Picard to have to kind of go back in Locutus's skin and feel that again, to be Borg, to slip back into those shoes even for just a moment, must have been terrible. But he did it to find out if Hugh was just a drone or if Hugh was actually a person. And he found out he was a person. So I wanted to see that. The rest of the stuff concerning the Borg, 7-9 and the ship, and I was disappointed in, but I was really excited to see Hugh and Picard on screen again. How did you guys feel about how they handled the Borg and how they handled that relationship? Captain Trek?
Well, I did not like how they handled the Borg. I liked the introduction of the Borg. I liked the fact that they were involved. But no. I'm going to stop at that point right now.
Okay. All right. Dave Bob?
No.
Well, they pretty much wasted the whole potential of the Borg. I mean, they're a big bad. They're the big bad, and they've always been the big bad. But in this one, they just seem pretty much neutered. I mean, there was no fear, no nothing of it. And the way they wasted them at the end, without anything, significant happening other than, Jerry Ryan becoming the Borg queen there for a little bit. It really, they wasted that whole Borg sideline. And, it started out, it could have been something good. And I think it probably was when they first started, but somewhere along the line, when they started the rewrites and everything, that just went to the back burner and never came back out. My biggest problem is what they did with the character of 7 of 9 as a Borg. I mean, when she was on Voyager, she was logical, cool, and just kind of, everything about her was calculating. And in this, she's just pretty much almost an alcoholic murder rage machine. And, they've destroyed her character arc. I mean, I know it's been 20 years, but I don't think they did her any favors with this.
Okay, Smith, Joe.
I have to agree with Dave Bob, at least as far as 7 of 9 is concerned. That was not 7 of 9. That's not the one I remember. That's not the kind of person I don't think she would have even evolved to once she came back to Earth and started to integrate herself back into humanity. But I remembered while you were talking, Loki, about Hugh and those scenes between Hugh and Picard Locutus in that TNG episode. And all I could flash back to at that point was the episode Family, that second episode of season 4, and how emotional Picard got, how Jean-Luc got with his brother at the vineyard. And having to see him go back into that mindset in that next episode, I Borg, it was almost painful to see and hear, and it felt awful. Because you can imagine what this man had to go through, how much of his humanity was ripped away. But you don't feel that in the series Picard. You don't feel that at all. At least I didn't get that feeling. I did miss Hugh. It was wonderful to see him and see how that character had evolved. But then they murder him. And then the things they do to Icheb was like, oh, for heaven's sake, you've got to be kidding. That part, these are beloved Borg characters. Why did you feel the need to decimate them this way? What was the point? You could have developed them along with this Borg reintegration story, but no, you dropped the ball. Or, like Dave Bob said earlier, they had to correct things that Shaban had written. So it was so disappointing to see what they did to such a large nemesis to the Federation at large.
Okay, and I want to address this really quick before I go on to Canuck. Just read, they didn't have time. From what I understand and from what has been said, they had just finished the previous episode before Riker and Troy even knew they were going to be, before Jonathan Frakes and Marina Sirtis even knew they were going to be in an episode. A lot of it was redone and done on the fly. And that may be why some of those legacy characters felt like they phoned it in, because they were never intended to be in it in the first place. So, Rambling Canuck, your thoughts? Borg, 7 of 9.
Well, for me, the Borg subplot was, and that's the way I always viewed it, even from the beginning, was the Borg was a subplot. So them kind of being pushed, easily answered. The only one I had a major issue with was the drones being eliminated so quickly. I would have liked to see a little bit more, but I think that had to do with the fact there was only 10 episodes and you can only fit so much in. But for me, the Borg were always a side plot. They were not the steak. They were more the potatoes of the show. So for me, it wasn't as big of a deal as it was for others. And also when it comes to 7 of 9, I can kind of understand where they're trying to go with the character, but it needs to be flushed out more. And I can also, I can appreciate that they're trying to say that, over the years, things have happened to her and they haven't really gone deep dive into that yet. And I think they need to in season 2 for it to make sense to where she is now from where she was. They really do. In season 2, they have to flesh that out for it to make sense. But overall, I was okay with it.
Okay. Bird of Prey 5.
I'm probably not going to have a popular opinion on this, but I never liked you. I never liked you in TNG, but I did. When he came to Picard, I actually did. I was like, oh, okay, he's not as bad. I just thought he was In Iborg, he was okay, but by Descent, I was like, I didn't care for the character. I liked him when he came into Picard, though. I was sad to see him die. I was much more sad to see Ichib die.
Yeah.
Ichib hit me hard. In fact, I think that's probably where the whole series started falling apart. For me, not only that he died, but the way they killed him.
I just found out last night, brother, that the Icheb that dies in the show is the future Icheb. He is the actor that played the future Icheb in Voyager. There's an episode where Janeway has like a meeting between Icheb and what was the girl's name? The little girl on there.
Naomi Wildman.
Naomi, yes, as adults.
Yeah.
And it's the same. I did not know that.
So they did take an Ichib actor. That's interesting.
Yes, they did take one version of Icheb from Voyager. Yes.
When was that episode? I need to go back and watch it now. Do we know which episode that is?
I'll find out before.
Okay.
There's an episode of Voyager where there's like a time breakdown.
Okay.
And like the ship is, if different parts of the ship are in different time moments in time, and Janeway going through the ship.
Yep.
Well, it's Chakotay originally. It's Chakotay.
Chakotay, yes.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
I just can't remember the name of the episode. Okay.
He gets the Janeway from the first episode, from before the Maquis joined forces, and convinces her, I'm your first officer. I am from the future. You have to help me fix this, or the ship's gonna something. I don't remember what was gonna happen, but it was gonna rip the ship apart in all the timelines. So and eventually they go to Astrometrics, and Janeway and Chakotay have a talk with Naomi Wildman and Icheb from the future.
Spike and Madness thinks it's fractured.
Fractured.
Fractured. Okay.
That sounds right.
Yeah, because different areas of the ship are different time periods.
Okay. Yeah, I'll go back and watch that episode today.
Bird. I just thought of that and wanted to get that out there. Shattered.
Captain Spire LDG. Thank you.
Thank you, guys. Thank you so much.
Got it. Thanks.
But I just wanted to make sure that get out there, because a lot of people have talked about the fact that Icheb was not played by Manu, and it was a version of Icheb, just not the Icheb that we all watched all the time on Voyager. He was the Icheb from that one episode. Anything else for us, Bird? I did not mean to interrupt you, brother. I'm sorry.
Oh, no problem. I thought the whole Borg thing was going to be bigger than it was, and what was there? I don't know. I think that's probably about it. It was a disappointment with the Borg in general.
If I could add one little thing.
Yeah.
As far as the difference between Icheb and Hugh, Icheb, the first time we see him, they kill him off. So I think that was jarring. I would have liked, maybe even in one episode previous to that, you get, like when 7 of 9 is there, you get a little bit of a understanding of where Icheb fell into this before you see him on screen. With Hugh, I was more okay with the way that that Hugh left the series. We'll put it that way, because in a way, he had a little bit more of a character arc. You had a little bit, it wasn't major, it wasn't big, it wasn't huge, but there was a character arc there, and he did get a little bit of redemption. In a way, he died trying to fix something and trying to. He died for a reason, not just for effect.
Sure, you died a hero. Icheb, I mean, you could say he died a hero, but Icheb wasn't saving anybody's life. He was just an unfortunate victim.
Yeah.
And the one thing else, I'm sorry.
Yeah, go ahead, Bert.
The last thing I was going to say about the Borg is it's not believable to me that after we had Picard rescued, 7 rescued, Icheb rescued, and like 5 other Borg rescued during the course of Voyager, and they're all returned to, mostly human look within days, that these XBs that they're taking off the Romulan cube are still so mutilated and ridiculous looking even weeks, months, years later. That it takes them such a long process to make them look even halfway human again, when in Voyager and even TNG, this stuff was done in hours, not months.
That's a good point, because this is 30 years. What, 30 years after Voyager?
20 years after Nemesis, so probably 22 years after Voyager returns.
So about 30 years from when Voyager started.
Right.
Around. Okay. Yeah, I completely agree. They would have advanced to the point where, in a day we can make you look like you used to.
Yeah, and I mean, mostly cosmetic technology that certainly would have been shared with the Romulans. It's not like that's some secret Federation tech that they would have held back from Romulans.
However, the only difference I would point out is with Picard, it's he's human. Maybe what they could do is explain it, that it has something to do with the Romulan physiology, that there's something different that doesn't allow them to do what they did to Picard, and also 7 of 9 isn't completely made back over like Picard was.
I like that, Canuck. I like that, dude.
So
I mean,
to be fair, to play devil's advocate, I mean, you
I'm not talking about
throw that
removing every single Borg implant, but I mean, 7. Okay, she's got an eyepiece, a thing above her eye, but she looks human. I mean, you saw those XBs; they look like they were 3rd-degree fire burn victims walking around. Some of them without eyes at all, and that you didn't see. I mean, every single Borg before this, they were able to turn back into something that looked mostly human or whatever species they were, with just a few extra pieces of metal sticking out.
Yeah. Well, and again, with the cosmetic surgeries, rather, or the technology.
Well, it could be said that the Romulans just didn't care.
Yeah, or the Romulans, they're not as vain.
Yeah, I mean, you could make the argument that it's just simple fact that they're going to, with Picard, they brought him back to the way he looked because, well, you're not going to have the captain of the flagship still having markers from the Borg.
Yeah,
and Picard really suffered from that, and to have any reminders of being in the Borg would be traumatizing for him, to the point where he would be non-functional. He would probably break down. So for him to go that way, I could see it. On the other hand, with the Romulans on the Borg cube and the XBs, I think the mission statement is more get them back to their to being individuals and less about what they cosmetically look like.
Right.
Just a different mindset. And also, you could also throw in, like I said, that the Romulan physiology may not let them do it.
Right.
Well, they also
Didn't we
had
have
a
that
whole
with
room.
7? I'm sorry, Lucky. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
They also had a whole room of them locked up in the padded party room.
Well,
you had a whole group of them.
That's right.
Were just the ones in the room. All those other XBs weren't Romulans; they were random species.
True.
Yeah, and then you had the ones that were locked up and that couldn't function. Yeah, that was psychological.
Yeah.
The unnamed.
The unnamed.
That's right.
So
wasn't there something about the way 7 had been integrated into the Borg to begin with that wouldn't allow for those pieces to be removed without killing her?
Because she was a child.
Yeah, if I remember right, it was because she was assimilated so young.
Right.
Picard still had Borg tech in him. It was just deactivated. So even Picard had stuff inside of him. And that's why he'd have nightmares about that shit popping out on his face and being.
Yeah, that was from First Contact. I was thinking that too. I was like, well, I remember that dream and that. Oh, God, my skin crawled during that scene.
Because he says, "I still have cybernetic devices implanted in my body." Mm-hmm. So even Picard had shit that they couldn't take out.
Yeah, and he was assimilated for such a short period of time.
Yeah, and they just went to work on him.
Yeah.
So getting towards the end of this, what I like to do real quick is talk about the finale and then get final thoughts. So, Captain Trek, if you are ready, the last 2 episodes, what did you think about the last 2 episodes?
Well, actually, I'd like to comment on the 7th episode, which would be the one with Riker. I couldn't even stand that one at all. Watching these member berries, and I'm going, I didn't care. I wasn't invested in it. It just didn't. I don't care. And at that point, I kind of checked out, and I just stopped watching the series as Star Trek. And that was when I actually enjoyed it a little bit more as just a generic sci-fi for the last 2 episodes.
Pizza with the Rikers.
I just wanted to slam my TV into the wall. Bunny corn pizza, yummy.
Is that it?
That's it.
Okay, Dave, Bob.
Well, the last 2 episodes, coming up to it with the beacon that was supposed to bring the big bad AI from somewhere beyond space and time. It's a beacon. It wasn't a transporting device. I mean, all they had to do was tell them where they were at, and then the AI was supposed to come and do their business. And they totally, disregarded that. They acted like the device that she was using was some type of teleportation device that were bringing them there. They know where they're at, and they're the ones that instigated the portal to get through, and just the actual transmission that Soji was doing was just telling where they were at, and that didn't make a whole lot of sense to me. So, that to me was a pretty good plot hole there. And everybody saw, what was going to happen with Picard. That was so bad. It was, not even funny, but the portion about, where he's given a body that's just as frail as his other one was, other than the aromatic syndrome that was, that killed him. That was kind of silly. And then I don't know, just the final scene when they're going away, and Shaban, just literally, just trying to troll fans with some of the stuff that happened right there in that last scene, was uncalled for.
All right, now, real quick before we go on, Chris Persia says the actor who played Icheb on Picard was not the same actor that played adult Icheb on Voyager. Okay, I got sent that by someone I trusted. Maybe they didn't know it either. And that's like a side-by-side picture, and I was like, holy crap, it's the same person. So if I made a mistake with that, my apologies, everybody. I believed it. I'm sure the person who sent me believed it too. So maybe I was wrong. I will double check, sir. You just checked IMDb. Okay, Mark Bennington, Casey King. All right, dude. I will pass that on. Thank you for letting me know that, Chris Persia, because I don't want to tell you guys shit that's not true. And I got that, and they look like the same person. I was like, holy crap, they had a side-by-side comparison. And it was Icheb, so my mistake, guys. My mistake. Samantha Joe.
Yes, sir. Well, I found it just too predictable, honestly. And the writing was weak. I mean, they started pulling from old episodes of TNG. Okay, that's fine. But they also pulled stuff from, hang on, I'll get there. From Stargate SG-1. I mean, I watched the beacon being built, and all I could see was those replicators. And I'm like, well, this is not Star Trek then. Now you're telling me this is SG-1. Okay. It just didn't, and none of it flowed. None of it made sense. At the time, I went back and rewatched them just the other day and was like, predictability. Complete predictability. I could see it, hindsight being what it is, from like the 4th episode forward, where they were essentially going to kill Picard. Spoiler alert, folks. Kill Picard and put him in an android body. That's it.
Okay.
It was just predictability.
Bird.
The final episode especially predictable. I didn't think for 1 second Picard had died. I thought it was a total waste of all of our times. Have all these people grieving when everybody knew that body that all of a sudden Soong doesn't want anymore. Oh well, we're just going to give it to Picard. And I think everybody who watched that episode knew exactly what was going to happen. So I think they wasted a bunch of time with all these grief scenes, and I still wonder, like, did they not know that Girardi and Soon and Sutra, or not Sutra, who was it? Soji were working on putting Picard into the body. I mean, were they grieving because they didn't know that was it going to be a surprise? Like, surprise, he's back. Or what? Like, did they not tell those people, or were they just crying just to cry? I didn't believe that Elnor would choose Rafi to go cry to. I didn't believe Seven and Rios would be the ones hanging out. And if anything, they should have done Rafi and Seven because of what we saw with the last episode anyway. The last scene as the ship pulls away. But just one thing I do want to bring up that I did like, but then we never heard from again, was that Romulan bird of prey. I really loved seeing that Romulan bird of prey earlier in the season. And I would have sworn it would have come back to bite them in the ass at some point. This warlord, he wasn't going to take it laying down. And that was just another plot point they dropped.
It should have. And I love that too, brother. I really did. When I saw that original TOS bird of prey, I was like, yes.
That may have been the high point for the season for me.
Yes.
Looking back.
Oh, so guys, you know how I feel. I absolutely hated the finale. The flowers, the androids. Do all Soongs look alike? Do all Soongs look exactly the same? Because we've gotten like what? 4 Soongs. We've got the my 4 Soongs. Is that what we're going to call it? My 4 Soongs. They all look exactly the same. They all look like Brent Spiner.
We need Fred McMurray popping in there.
Yeah. So, final thoughts. This is what we're going to do. This is what we'll close it out. Last thing here, guys, and I'll let everybody go. Final thoughts on the show. And my final thoughts, I'll go first. My final thoughts are this. They stole. My mistake. They paid an homage to dozens of different things. And I understand that. Copying, flattering, blah, 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 blah. But to blatantly just like, we don't care, we'll take from whatever. Multiple instances in this show where it immediately reminded me of another show. And I feel like that is not the way. The way for Star Trek is to lead the pack. People copy us. Why is the Orville so good? Because the Orville pays a huge homage to Gene Roddenberry's vision in their own way. They do it in their own way. They have edibles, they cuss, they do things the way they want to do it, but they're still honoring Gene's vision. This does not honor Gene's vision. This is, how can we make it flashy and get people's attention, and we'll drop F-bombs and we'll have incest and we'll have this and we'll have that, while missing the heart of Trek. Okay, when I can watch a video from No Budget Productions and Major Van Soen and feel more heart of Star Trek in that than I can watching actual Star Trek, there is a problem. That is my opinion. That is my final thoughts. Dave, Bob, how do you feel?
Well, excuse me. Deep disappointment. That's pretty much going to sum up how I feel about it. Just deeply disappointed.
All right. Bird of Prey 5.
I'd say I would recommend this to anybody who that's a good question. I'd recommend it to people who saw TNG, who like TNG, and they want to see Picard's story continue. Although I would caution that they might not like to see where it goes, but I would recommend it if they wanted to watch. Honestly, I'm not sure who else this was ever really intended for. I know Rambling says it's for 18 to 25-year-olds, but I don't think any of them ever tuned in to see this. So that's really it. It was fine for me. I think if you're a hardcore Trek fan, you'll get something out of it, but it's not a lot, and it's not what I wanted.
Okay, Captain Trek.
I would say if you're getting CBS All Access for free or you're getting it for another reason, it's definitely worth a watch. If you're getting it to watch continuation of Next Generation, forget it. It's not worth it.
Okay, Samantha Joe.
I have to agree with Captain Trek. If you're hoping for a continuation of TNG, you're not going to get that. If you're coming at it from the 18 to 25 perspective, this is new to you, you'll probably like it. Even in addition, if you're not a Trek fan, you may enjoy it. But as a hardcore TNG fan myself, it was tragic.
Okay, Rambling Canuck.
Okay, well, since I didn't really get a chance to mention my thoughts on the final, if you don't mind, do you mind if
did I skip over you?
Yeah.
Shit,
do you mind?
Say something. I'm so sorry, dude. Brother, I apologize. I did not mean to. Dude, my whole mind switched when everybody's icons switched places. Oh, I'm sorry, dude. Please tell us about the finale and let us know what your final thoughts. You have as much time as you want, dude. And I'd like to, dude, guys, give Rambling Canuck a hand. He likes this show, guys, and that's a hard thing to do. Is to come on to somebody else's show when you know they don't like it and you know they're going to be like, well, this is why I didn't like it and this is why I like it, and talk positive about it. And that is why I wanted him here today. That is why I wanted him here, because I want to hear positive things about the show. So give Rambling Canuck a hand, and Canuck, take as much time as you like, sir, and tell us what you thought of the finale and what your final thoughts are.
Okay, well, for the finale itself, I really liked the fact, for me, my biggest fear were as follows. I thought for sure as hell what they were going to do was they were going to have the big bad, which is the synths that they were calling, come in, and they were going to destroy them and take them out, because shows these days love to kill the big bad. So on one hand, I can look at it and be quite happy that they didn't. They gave them an out, and they introduced them, but they didn't defeat them. So that I liked, because now it sets up for season 2 that they can make a return.
That's true.
The other thing that I liked was the Data and Picard. Data and Picard, I loved. I love the fact that at the beginning of the show, Picard is still in remorse, and he's more remorse because in his mind, he should have died, not Data.
Yeah.
Data should have let him go out, not rescue him and take his place. And this weighed heavy on Picard. And I like the fact that by the end of season 1, he has now come to peace with that. I thought that they did a very, very well send-off to Data at the end of this. I thought that the scenes with Picard and Data in them were amazing. When Riker warps in, and yes, I know the fleet was a little underwhelming because it was the same old ships, but I don't know. I'm kind of torn on that, because at the same time, I can kind of understand if this ship, from what we've been told, is a battle class, I can look it into real world explanation and go, okay, well, when a military builds a battle class, they come up with a design and they mass produce that design. So is this the only ship in the Federation? No. This is their battle cruiser. This is their battleship. This is what they send to war. So I can understand it being mass produced. And it being the same with a couple of variants, such as, modern day, the nuclear submarines. They're not all different. They're the same class with different variants. I can understand that completely, and I can accept this. So that doesn't bother me as much. But seeing Riker warp in and it be Riker, because I atone it to movies like Insurrection. Picard his back is against the wall, and it's Riker who warps in. Sorry, Captain, I was delayed a little bit, but I'm here now. What do you need? And for me, that was a great nod. I loved it. It was great. It was the right person who was in command of that ship. To see Riker in uniform again was awesome. To see him get the captain pep, even though, acting captain, okay, fine, bad dialogue, but still, I really enjoyed that moment.
Sorry, go ahead. Give me just a second. I think it was Bird who said this. I'm not 100% sure. There was supposedly confirmation that was going to be Admiral F-Bomb that warped in. That was going to be the CDC Admiral F-Bomb that warped in to save Picard at the end, and they changed it at the last minute and put Riker in there.
And I think that was a change for the best, because Riker doing it is more of a nod, in my opinion, to a TNG fan than Admiral F-Bomb would have been. I'm sorry, that's just the way it is. In my opinion, having Riker do it makes way more sense than anybody else. Even to have Worf come warping in, how some people had thought, I didn't see it. It's got to be Riker. If Picard's back's against the wall, it's got to be Riker. So for that, I really liked it. The other thing I really liked was we got a little taste of TNG, and that being that the Romulan fleet is here, the Federation fleet is here. Did they open fire? No. Riker doesn't come in all guns blaring, because that's not the way the Federation does it. That's why Riker says, give me a reason. I want to destroy you. Give me the damn reason. Give me the excuse. Please give me the excuse. My hands are tied right now. Unless you fire a shot at me, I can't do nothing. Please give me that. Give me that shot, please. Because as the Federation, if he comes in all guns blazing, that's even a worse slap in the face to the Federation that we know, to Starfleet that we know. If Riker would have come in all guns blazing, that would have been an epic slap in epic proportions to Starfleet. Starfleet doesn't come in all guns blazing. And in TNG, how many times do we see the Enterprise and a Romulan bird of prey? They're right next to each other, and the conflict gets high. But there's never a shot fired. Never a shot fired.
Yeah, you're exactly right.
That is 100% TNG in my opinion. And to me, that was a direct nod, because Riker didn't come in all guns blazing. Because if he did, he would have been going against the Federation. They would have been going against the Starfleet. That's not how Starfleet does it. You have to provoke it. They'll defend, but they're not going to be the aggressor. So for the fleet to warp in and not just open fire right away makes complete sense to me. And I like how that was handled. I do like now, as far as Picard, I guess I can get into my final thoughts. I'm very interested to see what they do in season 2. Because now you have Picard, who's basically the spokesperson for the synths. Yes, they're free, but we all know how this is going to work. You're still going to have to convince a few people. And now with Picard in the situation that he's in, whether we like it or not, with him being a synth, he's got the ultimate trump card for any argument now. If anybody calls within the Federation for the synths to be outlawed again, he's got the ultimate trump card. So does that mean you destroy me too? Because now he is a synth. So now not only is he an advocate, but he has a very, very vested interest in making sure that they do not outlaw them again, which will make him a better advocate. Because as we know, in just like in life, you never really understand something until you go through it. And now Picard's going to have to go through it. The other thing I find interesting for season 2 is, will this be common knowledge? Will Picard actually come out, shall we say? Because he doesn't really have to, because he looks the same. So will he make it, announce it and scream it from the rafters that he's an AI or a synth? Or will that be something that he prefers to keep private until it's the proper time to do so? I also think that a lot of the loose ends that were left in season 1 will play into season 2, because if they're doing the long form proper, you don't want everything tied up in a nice little bow. And honestly, I think they've set up for some very interesting things. And for me, I think at the end of this series, whether it's 2 seasons or 3 seasons or whatever the seasons may be, for me, I think what I want to see most is, I want Raffi back in uniform. I want Rios back in uniform. I want Picard back in uniform. And I want them on a Starfleet ship. And I want them redeemed. I want Raffi to be redeemed with her son. I want these things. And that's how I guess I will end up judging the entire series at the end of this, is, do we get the payoff? They've been dragged through the dirt. They've been kicked in the balls. Now do they climb back up, or do they just lay in the dirt? And that would be my blurb on that.
Thank you, brother. Thank you. I hope you get what you want. I do. I hope that they give you what you want and that it pays out. I do not know, guys, if I'm going to come back and do this in season 2. I know me and Dave Bob are going to continue on Thursdays and talk stuff and review stuff and bring a show to you guys every Thursday. He's my permanent guest for as ever long as he wants to be. But I do know that as of right now, I have not decided whether I can watch another season, personally.
I don't think we should assume a season 2 is coming at this point.
Yeah, not with everything
There's too
Hollywood
much.
is basically shut down. So I don't even know if they could.
Yeah. So I'm not going to make any decisions now. I will let everybody know if we're going to, if we decide we're not going to do this, if they do come out with the season 2, I will pass that baton off to you, Rambling Canuck, and I'll come on. I'll watch your reviews, brother. I'll watch your reviews of it. If you're reviewing them, I'll watch your reviews. If I decide not
I'll
to
hold
do
you
it,
to that.
yes, sir. Yes, sir. I would like to thank my panel. And you know what, Bird? This is all your fault, because this is the second time you've been on, and it's been my longest stream.
Longest streams.
Well, that you brought a Rambling Canuck on here, so.
Yes, and I've got a Rambling Canuck on here. I would like to thank each of you on this panel today. Thank you, Dave, Bob, Bird of Prey, Captain Trek, Samantha, Joe, Rambling Canuck. Thank you guys so much for coming here and doing this with me today. I've absolutely had a blast.
Thanks for having us.
Had a great time.
Thank you very much for having me on.
Kapla.
Kapla, brother.
Kapla.
Hail to Kuroga, Captain Spire. Hail.
That's the Kuroga.
I'll say, boy.
Oh.
Belvedere.
Death to Turtistan.
I say. Oh, guys, thank you. Thank you to chat. Guys, you have been great. I love you guys. I absolutely love you guys. You have been great. You have been throwing stuff in the chat this whole time. I've tried to get to some of you. I'm sorry I could not get to all of your comments. But I absolutely love this today. This is great. I can't wait till we have a big panel like this again. I had a lot of fun, and I hope you guys had a lot of fun. I am going to leave you guys with this message from Dave Bob, or from Old Bob. Sorry, Dave Bob. Old Bob. And we will catch you guys tomorrow for the last of the week's Mornings of Mischief. See you, everybody.
If you haven't already, please like, share, and subscribe.